Yes, sir. Welcome to the OBR streaming network. This is a special edition of All Eyes on Cleveland on a Friday night. I hope you had a good 4th of July. Everybody's got all their digits still, hopefully. Yep, good. Set off fireworks, cooked out, had fun with the family. Hope everybody enjoyed. We pushed the show back a day for family festivities for everybody's reasons here, but we don't want to spend 1 week away from you here at the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, and we are back. So my name is Brad Ward. That is the one and only him Schwartz, Casey Kinnamon. And Casey, we've got big news this week, sir. I'd like to say congratulations and welcome to being a official member of the OBR. We are thrilled to have you. You had your first article out, Drew, saying good evening, Brad, and OBR case. Yep. So awesome stuff to have you on board, sir. I could not be more thrilled.
Thanks, man. I can't thank you enough. Everyone at the OBR has been awesome. It's been a site that I've had my eyes on for quite a while, and to get the call up to the big leagues, it felt good, and glad to be here and make some noise.
Yeah, absolutely. We're thrilled to have you. It's a great fit, and I've thought so for a long time, so we're glad to have you. Certainly. Now, you wrote your first article this week. Let's start
Yes,
there. Lay it out. What'd you write about?
All right. Well, I was on Sports for CLE, and we had to respond to some article where they had the Browns quarterback situation as the 31st in the league, saying only one other team had it worse than the Browns. And, this is the Watson tax. So we are talking about it from that angle. And I scrapped that. I said, what's real, though? I would take Jameis Winston over like 10 of these starters they have in front of the Browns. It spawned from that. So it's about what happens if Winston takes over? What are the expectations? My expectations, if Jameis Winston were to take over as quarterback, is the same as Deshaun Watson. I believe the ceiling is just as high with Jameis as it is Deshaun. And if you just look back at the history of Jameis Winston, and you can go all the way back to him being 17 on the national stage on the Elite 11, he's been in the spotlight his whole life.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously you have his redshirt freshman year at Florida State, winning the national championship, winning a Heisman, going first overall after wait a year to go first overall because of his eligibility. And even in his time in Tampa, now they didn't win enough while he was in Tampa, but the production was there. And
Crazy.
He took over a bad team. He's never had a season where he started more than 13 games and not thrown for 4,000 yards. He produces. But then if you look at the actual fit in Cleveland, what Stefanski's comfortable with, a guy who, he wants to win from within the pocket, big, strong arm, proclivity for pushing the ball vertically. We know firsthand that Stefanski's comfortable building a game plan around a guy with those skill sets. If you look at what Ken Dorsey's worked with in the past, what is it? It's big, strong arm quarterbacks. Now, I'm not saying he has the athleticism of a Josh Allen or a Cam Newton, but he's more athletic than he's been given credit for. And I just look at what the pieces in place, the type of player that he is. And I just think even if he doesn't play a single down this year, which would be what the Browns want. The Browns want Deshaun Watson to pay them, repay the investment and move forward in that lane. Even if Jameis Winston doesn't play a single snap, the benefit he is for this team as a sounding board for Winston, as a positive influence in the locker room. To me, it was the most underrated signing they've had this offseason, and it may not even play out. But I believe that if it does, the expectations for this team do not change. They should still be the favorites to win the AFC North and look to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, it's super interesting to think about that. The thoughts behind him winning 10 games, that's interesting, you know what I mean? Like, that's the baseline, right? So, and if you think about it, like, they came from similar background, right? Like, as far as they were both brought out of the South, same time frame, same quarterback kind of push from the SEC and ACC, Florida State, Clemson. I think they were in school at the same time, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah, they would have been
So
in school at the same time. Although when Winston was at Florida State, I think Taj Boyd would have been his senior year.
that's right.
So Watson
That's
would have
right.
been waiting in the wings at that point.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and it's interesting, um, they've crossed paths throughout. I think there's some history there between
They've
them.
known each other since high school,
Yeah, yeah. So they've
going to
known each other a
camps,
long.
and you know what I mean. They were Gainesville, Georgia, is where Deshaun's from, and then if you think about like what's crazy about Winston is he played his high school ball less than an hour from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
Was the number one dual threat quarterback in the nation, recruited by everyone, including Alabama. That was right there on their doorstep. Chose to go to Florida State so he could also play baseball.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we talked about this before, but another factor that not a lot of people talk about is like the ability to relate to what Winston has been through and changed his image, his public image, and something that Watson could certainly turn to, sounding board as well, football as well as off the field, and as he tries to rebuild his public image, right?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about that is Winston has faced. I mean, obviously he's brought a lot of it on himself. The crab legs incident. You know what I mean? There was an allegation that never proved substantiated, but Winston's remained unapologetically himself the entire time. He did not change who he was to be viewed in
No.
this positive light. He just kept being himself, staying positive, and he's came out the other side of that noise. And he's in a different stage in his life, which is something Deshaun Watson can look towards. Because it's going to take a ton of time. But the worst thing you could do at this point is be fake. Try to be who they
Yes.
want you to be, and then you lose the faith of the locker room. People see that. You know what I mean? So remain yourself, stay positive, and just keep doing good things. And eventually you hope to be recognized for that. But you can't control how other people see you. You just control your actions and how you react to things. And I think Winston is a prime example of that.
Yeah, it is. And it's about, basically for Watson, it's just trying to stack, like, do the next right thing and stack those on top of each other. A lot of his redemption, though, Casey, as we know, unfortunately, it shouldn't really be tied to this, but a lot of the redemption has to come on the field as well. So until he plays well on the field, he probably won't get a real chance at, like, true redemption as the figure that he once was, unless he were to play some elite football. So,
and I think he'd have to play elite football in stacked seasons. I think even if he had one elite season, it would still be a lot of people's hang up. It would take, I mean, it's a cliche, but like winning cures everything.
yeah.
But you have to do it over time. And then if you do enough of it, they don't lead Ray Lewis's Hall of Fame induction speech with he was once accused of double murder.
That's exactly right. It's a great point. It's a great point. All right, you're watching the OBR Streaming Network. All eyes on Cleveland. Casey Kinnamon. Next to me, I'm Brad Ward. Hop on over to youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. Hit like, hit subscribe. Tell a friend. Keep coming back as we continue to build this thing up back to where it once was. So we appreciate you all that are here. 330 of you here on a Friday night right now listening. So we appreciate that. All right, listen. Good stuff on the article. Now, on the same topic here a little bit, we want to go to bold prediction from Connor Orr. Now, this has kind of made the rounds, but we haven't talked about it yet. You've seen the down rankings for the Browns where great roster, big question mark quarterback, and they fall down in the rankings, right? So Connor Orr, though, in his bold predictions for 2024, has Watson at 32 pass touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. 42 touchdowns, Casey. This guy is predicting. Thing or not a thing?
Oh, it's definitely in the range of outcomes. The 10,
It is.
honestly, I think
That
the
would be
32, I
tough.
think the 32 passing touchdowns is more likely than 10 rushing.
Yeah, very much so, yeah.
Based on him returning from the injuries returning from, there's probably an added incentive to not throttle down on the running. You know,
Yes,
not design runs, obviously just scramble runs. But
yeah,
I doubt that, you get into the red zone situation and he calls his number that many times seems unlikely.
I would agree. 10 rushing touchdowns seems way out there. The 32 is much more realistic.
Mhm.
42 total, just as if we just take out rushing and passing and just say 42
Mhm.
touchdowns that seems a little ambitious.
Yeah, that's MVP territory.
Yeah, that is. If you were to do that, it would
Mhm.
be MVP territory. Um, so I think that I would say, what do you think? Like, so you made the point in your article. I mean, what would hypothetically say that the whole season was started by Jameis? What would your number expectations be to get those 10 wins for him?
Well, you kind of have to throttle back because everyone kind of remembers Jameis for that last season that he started in Tampa, where he led the league in passing attempts, passing yards, and interceptions. He had 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. I think you need to go back before that, before the Huckett Shuckett days of
Yeah,
Bruce Arians to kind of get a true feel for what you would look like for pass attempts and completion percentage. Jameis Winston's going to complete about 64% of his passes. That's who he is. He's also going to take chances. So you're probably looking at like 28 touchdowns to 10 to 12 interceptions. That would be like the metric. That's going to be the trade-off. You're not going to get 3-1 out of Winston, because the one thing that I think is imperative with Winston is his greatest asset's also the thing that is his enemy. It's his confidence.
yeah,
His confidence gets him in trouble. There's not a throw that he thinks he can't make or a window he can't squeeze a ball in.
yeah,
And I think that it would just come down to not obviously, and I don't think it's to the degree of what Flacco's is. Flacco's YOLO balls, it's not quite to that point. And I think that Winston is a coachable individual and he's still moldable because he's young, man. He's 30 years old. He's not he's a veteran in the game, but we're looking at Flacco, someone's 39. You're not going to really change his stripes. If you can get him to toe the line between confident and reckless, I think you can end up with a pretty explosive offense.
Now, all right. So for Watson, what's a realistic expectation if he's okay? I don't even want to say because I've said this multiple times. I don't think he needs to be Houston Deshaun Watson for this to work. He just, to your point in your article, kind of right. Like he just needs to be effective in this offense for this thing to work. And the whole I'll be better, whatever you have to say is fine. But you don't have to be better. You can be a reinvented version of yourself, right? Like, or another version of Deshaun Watson and be effective, right? As long as you take care of the ball, make the throws you're supposed to make, all the things. Like at this point, personally, it's not my money. I don't care if he pays off the contract. I just want him to pay off in the win column.
Yeah, the expectations of winning, man. Like you were brought here
Correct.
to win,
Right.
and everyone wants those elite numbers, and just how they think of Jameis as 2019 Jameis. Everyone goes to 2020 Deshaun. We led the league in passing yards, but they were 4 and 12. A lot of those were garbage yards at the end of games. I think you want to look back to 2018, 2019, when they were 10 and 6, 11 and 5, and going to the playoffs. Like, what do those numbers look like in your 3,800 yards?
Yeah.
26 to 30 touchdowns, and again, 10 to 12 interceptions. It's being on the plus side of efficiency. And I think that that's where he can improve. I don't think you're going to get improved numbers. So you're not going to see 2020 Deshaun Watson. I don't think that that's in the cards, really, especially with the way this offense is. From what we can gather from what it's going to be, it isn't just going to be an air raid system where you're just airing it out recklessly, but he's going to be selective in his shots. I think that that's where the efficiency needs to come in. You need to connect on those deep balls when you take it. He was inaccurate on those. Obviously, I don't even like talking about what he's done in Cleveland because it's such a limited sample size.
Yeah.
We've never really get to see him stat games because he's a guy who's historically not good at the beginning of seasons, and he builds over the course of a season. He hasn't given himself that opportunity yet. So until we see it, I don't know exactly what to expect. But I think you flirt with 4,000 yards and you try to aim for 30 touchdowns, man.
And if he plays in 17 games, you should be at 4,000. I feel like in this offense.
Yeah, flirting with it. I think that's like the.
And then three. You said not 3-1 for James. Like that's where right around 3-1 touchdown.
That's where you want to be, man. That is the Goldilocks zone for a quarterback.
And like 30-10 would be fine with me. Like if he got to around 30 and was at a 3-1, I think that would be enough for them to win 10, 11 games.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So the Connor, or I mean, if that were to come true, let's just take the 10 rushing out of it because that's insane. But let's just say 42. Mm-hmm. That number were to come to fruition, I don't think he would win MVP because of.
Oh no, he could have MVP numbers, and they won't give him the
right.
MVP.
Exactly, but
it'd take a couple seasons of that before you'd see that come to fruition.
He would be in the running, and they would be uber successful. You would like to think so. Very bold prediction from Connor, who I like. I like Connor Orr a lot. So
I think he also has the Bengals beating the Lions in the Super Bowl.
Oh, really? That's even more interesting. All right, so I wanted to hit on that because it kind of linked in with your article there, and as far as our expectations for Watson, what we want to see here in 2024, and if we are just like everybody else, we are going to be seeing this offense for the first time. Mm-hmm. We have an idea of what they want to do, as Dimitri here brings up, option routes, something they saw we'll see a variation of this year. He brings up Lindy Fonte, and his option route offense, Kosar highlights. But like it's not something new to the league, certainly, but it's something that they're going to be doing differently and using in a different way. I think the RPO game will be a big part of this. I think that probably not as much of the zone read stuff, right? Probably more gap ski concepts, right? Running the football, especially out of the shotgun, more motion, more spread. Stuff that you basically just want Watson to feel comfortable, but we don't know all the ins and outs of it though.
No.
So, and they're not going to show us much in the preseason. But I mean, I think it's very possible that you're going to hear people clamoring, week 1, week 2, it looks the same. It looks the same, but because they just don't understand the changes, right? Like, or it's not like saying people don't, but just like the layperson, it may not look that different than what the change. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, they don't hear about the labor pains; they just want to see the baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not going to be
great.
It's not going to be fully fleshed out. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's going to be, like, I agree with you. I think we'll see more RPO and less traditional play action. I think there'll be less of him turning his back to the defense, like you said, keeping him comfortable, keeping him in shotgun, probably some pistol looks, a lot of varied formations, more motion. But at the end of the day, those first few games, because he's a slow starter anyway, I don't think they're going to throw the whole playbook at him right away.
Yeah. No, I agree, and then it also depends on. I mean, I guess it depends. I have an expectation that he will be like full go in West Virginia. Do you have that expectation?
He may physically be full go, but I don't know if they'll treat him that way.
Okay.
If they'll still keep him on a sort of a pitch count, that's the unknown. How do they handle it? I don't know.
Maybe they might give him a Veterans Day off here or there, but I don't know if they'll still be doing every other day or pitch.
I hate to say it, you can't afford to, right? You're implementing the offense, man, and you're got to get everybody on the same page. And chemistry is so damn important. And I know a lot of this is going to be on air and not live action, but those are still meaningful reps, and you want him taking as many as he can. Obviously, you don't want to redline him. you don't want to have the last thing you want is a setback. And I think that's why they're going to be cautious. That just as long as he's, as long as he's still progressing and there's no setbacks, probably just keep trying to up his workload. And my hope is by the time they come back from West Virginia, that it's just business as usual, and we don't have this talking point hanging around.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, and it's been a long recovery, whatever. But it was a bone. Like, it's not like, so it should be pretty.
Should be stronger, Brad. Broken bones heal back stronger.
Yeah, I mean, he should be able to. They should be able to be like, okay, you're good. Like, it's not like a muscle or tendon where you're like, oh, we don't know. We have to be real easy with it because we don't know if we could. It's a bone. When it's healed, right? I mean, I don't know. Does that sound crazy?
No, it doesn't sound crazy. I mean, that's what took him out. But you have to understand there was also a shoulder injury that predated that. Now they're saying those two things are unrelated. I find that hard to believe that they're completely unrelated. Like that area wasn't weakened, but
it had to been.
Yeah, but it's all as long as his tendons are repaired fully and are responding well to the workload. Obviously, I think that's a lot what that last practice was. Is he opened his carriage up a few times and let him rip. And that's to show us and show himself, like not limited. I can still make those things happen. So,
yeah.
But absolutely. I can't lie. I'm going to be like the first time he gets in live action, I'm still going to be holding my breath.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. All right, so I saw somebody bring this up, and I just wanted to hit on it real quickly. It's another publication mentioned cut candidate. Is it John Mechie?
Yeah. From Houston.
Yeah, John Mechie as a cut candidate that the Browns should be interested in bringing in. Thoughts?
Log jam. You already log jam with young receivers that I need to see what they are. I don't think that gets better by clogging it up even more with another guy who I don't know what he is.
I don't think that you can bring any wide receiver in at this point, really, like, except for Coop.
Not unless it's a project and you want to get him on the practice squad.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't, I'm as far as like what you have going into the season, it's already, unless there's an injury, you have more than enough. And you have guys, I need to know what they are.
Yeah. Like these guys that could be a 4, right? I want the 4th spot in the receiver room to be one of these young guys, right? Or the 3rd spot or whatever. Now, some people say 3rd because they don't like Elijah Moore. I think Elijah will do fine as the 3, but personally, but that's because I like Elijah. But you want one of these young guys to grow into that 4th role. You don't want to block that role with another body, right?
And you don't want to pay for depth. You got these young guys. You need to get some results out of it. You need production out of some of these young receivers.
Yeah. No movement on Cooper. No updates. Don't expect any movement until, a week before Greenbrier? Maybe we'll get some rumblings.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right.
We've already got the bet in place, man.
I know. We got the bet in place. So we'll see. I think mine's like day 3 or day 2 of Greenbrier, right? And yours is into
August 20th, Military Appreciation Day.
Yes. So
God bless the truth.
Eye on that, on the Cooper bet and the Brendan Rice bet. I got to keep track of them all. All right. So did you see? All right. So this one, I want to bring this up here. Hold on. I had it saved somewhere. The Dak Prescott stuff. Only interesting because he's week 1, right?
Yeah, you played him week 1. It's relevant.
So let's see here. Oh, okay. Source now saying something different. So I saw something where there was reports that he was wearing a boot. Right? This is from today from ESPN. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott recently suffered a minor right foot sprain that temporarily required a walking boot, a source told ESPN's Todd Archer. Prescott was seen in a walking boot while on vacation in Cabo San Lucas in a picture posted on Wednesday. It was unclear when the picture was taken, although he is no longer wearing the boot, according to the source. The injury is not expected to impact Prescott when the Cowboys hold their first training camp practice July 25th. It is not known how Prescott suffered the injury. Cowboys last held an organized workout on June 5th. I wonder, do the Cowboys have any preseason matchups? Like practicing with anybody? Do you know?
No, I do not know if they have any joint practices. That is a great question, though.
Boy,
I had that information for you.
The week one matchup with the Cowboys is just so intriguing, right? Like I'm fired up about it already. Like you couldn't start off the season any better in my opinion, than with the Cowboys. So they will have joint practice with the Los Angeles Rams August 8th at the Oxnard River Ridge Complex in California.
The Cowboys used to hold all their camps at Oxnard. I wonder if this is them holding it there again. Which always I didn't ever understand, like, why. I get why. I don't know. I don't know what their practice facilities are like, but I'm assuming Jerry's got that hooked up. I wouldn't think they would have to go to California for camp. But
so that leads into their preseason opener with the Rams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, is the Browns what's the Browns preseason? Theirs is for deeper into camp, right? I feel like.
Yeah, August 10th is when they kick off the preseason.
And that's against who?
I don't know. The second opponent is the Vikings, and that's the joint
that's
practice.
the week. It's the second. It was like the 17th.
Yeah, they play two at home, and then they go to Seattle for their last one.
Which is super, super weird.
I don't know. It's a whole different thing. I don't understand that at all.
The Seattle thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless they really wanted to, like, I almost feel like you would have to request that.
Feels like it, right? Because it's always right around you. You're going to do usually NFC guys if you can, and it's going to be Detroit. It's going to be Chicago, guys that are close to you in your region.
Yeah, they never send anybody across the country. It doesn't seem like in the preseason like that, especially. I don't know. It feels to me like maybe they were like, "Hey, let's do this so we can get like a
mock road trip."
Yeah, a mock road trip, exactly. Like we want to have our logistics down. We want to have the feeling of this done. Now, when you look at the actual schedule, though, they don't. I mean, it's not like their travel is crazy this year.
That's going to be the furthest they travel this year.
I mean, it's more than in the past, right? So they go to Vegas. They go to Denver, right?
Yep. Those are both
those
true
the only two West Coasts? Yeah. That's it.
Makes no sense, man.
So, I don't know. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me either, but, and I trust
Well, just the timing of it. It's not going to start until 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it's West Coast time.
It makes no sense, man.
Yeah, even stranger. So yeah, it's very bizarre. But yeah, and just listen, are you outraged by how many days do they have open camp? 4 or 6? 6. Are you upset by that? Do you think the team should accommodate more days than that?
I mean, this is just a function of the Greenbrier. I think if they weren't going to Greenbrier, you'd probably get 8 to 10.
Right, Greenbrier and hosting Minnesota, which they
have to close that.
Yeah,
some media will be involved in some of it, but the fans won't be coming to that one. Yeah, look, man. I'm a huge believer in joint practices. Like I am.
Me too.
I'm thrilled they're doing that. That is something that I think sharpens you every year, and it's a great measuring stick. And I loved it when it was Philadelphia because of what you get in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Minnesota, not as much. I feel like we'll be big brother in this situation.
You think
But this is
so?
the quasi connection.
Yeah.
When you have connections inside the league, you'll work together, try to get the best work possible. But am I outraged only having 6? Not really. But I'm also not
Yeah.
planning on going to them. If it was something I was planning on going to and it limited
Yeah.
my window, what I'm outraged is there's only one weekend. Out of all these 6, only one's on a weekend. It's on a Sunday.
That's crazy. I didn't even think of that. I didn't look at the dates yet. Yeah, that's the whole thing is just yeah, now they're doing a lot of construction, I believe, or they're going to be when they're doing the renovations over there in Berea, so that may play a part in like it may not be like ideal for hosting a ton of fans in the next this year or the
Yeah.
next coming years. I don't know if they broke ground on that. I think they did.
I haven't heard a
But
word on it.
either way, just it'll be a strange preseason. A little bit. Greenbrier, you don't get a ton, right? You get some, but you don't get a ton. They do a pretty good job. I should take that back. They do a pretty good job videotaping a lot of what they're doing and trying to get some of that out there for the fans
Yeah,
without
but that's
giving
also
anything away.
state-run media, so you're only going to get positive stuff. Like I'm like Fred will probably be there, right? So
Yeah,
you get boots on the ground, you'll get an actual account of what's going on. I think that's probably more important.
yeah. So, um, yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's a positive thing that they go there. I personally, I know other people disagree with this. I personally don't really care that much about the 6 open. Like, I'd rather just, I want the team to have the time they feel they need against the other team at the Greenbrier. Those things to be better when the regular season starts.
Mhm.
Those things are more important to me. But I get that, like, for some people, their best experience or closest experience to the team they love is maybe at training camp or for their kids. So I'm empathetic to that, right? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Um,
I get it for the fan experience, but for me personally, I'm about those dubs, man. And I trust this regime and however they feel they need to structure this to be at their best when September comes around. That's what I want them to do.
you with me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Did I cut out?
Yeah, we got technical issues on my end. I apologize.
It's all
Cut
good.
out for a second there. All right, we're back though. Okay, so I did the kind of most intriguing news since the last time we were on the air. I feel is um, that thank you, Red Leader. The most intriguing news is the kind of the Jack Conklin thing, right?
Yeah,
So has proclaimed that he's in good health, right? Or that he's going to be ready. Now we had heard from was it DeWand or Jed? I thought it was DeWand.
so it was Dewan leaking that he was kind of ahead of the game.
Yeah, that him and Jed had been working together,
Mhm.
and that he was ahead, and that he felt like Jed was a little bit behind him, and then that he made a comment that Conklin he didn't know, but he was kind of behind them. But now we get this Conklin is supposedly feels good, is going to be ready to come back, and that's fantastic news. But it once again brings up this topic of the
Yep.
tackle situation, right? Because now, uh, you were going to have DeWand most likely
Yeah.
at camp
Mhm.
at the Greenbrier, and we didn't know about the other two. It was kind of up in the air. So now you feel like you're going to have Jack there. So are you gonna kick DeWand over to left tackle and let him? I mean, you should at least let him take some reps there, right? I don't know
He
if
did last
Jed's
off
not
season.
ready.
He got a couple days in where he had a couple of reps over there. Um, yeah, man, it's the most fascinating aspect of this offseason to me is how they're going to handle these tackles. And you always write an article, things I think I know. This is things I wish I knew. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle it. And I know that Jack's saying he's back, but much like the Deshaun situation, physically he's back. Are they going to just like roll him straight out and he's the starter day one? I don't know how they're going to handle it, man. And this is also Dickerson's first rodeo with this lineup.
Yeah.
How's he going to handle it and allocate snaps? It's fascinating to me. And I'm a big proponent. If the plan was for DeWan to work at left tackle, I need him to be working at left tackle. If that's the plan, he needs reps. If that's
From
the
Jump
plan.
Street, it was your whole thing, right? Like if that was the off-season plan, then they should have been doing that from day one.
Oh my
Now,
God, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I get that. I do. I just would be interested to see like. Here's the thing, like if DeWand could figure out how to play left tackle, it would solve so many issues for
Mhm.
the Browns
It would.
because you wouldn't have to worry about extending Wills. It's easier to find a right tackle, I think, than it is a left tackle, although that's becoming more of a. It feels like that's becoming more even in the NFL these days, right? Like,
Well, because most guys
it's
aren't
not.
playing specifically from the pocket, so the idea of a blind side is not as
Yeah.
vocal as it used to be. It used to be like
Stark,
the
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, which is true, but it's like okay, so there's like such a wide variety of outcomes here. Case like it could go like Jed Wills gets an extension this year,
Yeah.
to he doesn't play at all over there. Like right now, I don't know. I would find that hard to believe that he doesn't play at all. But I mean, what if you put DeWanda over there? He plays well, and Jack stays healthy, and that's your starting tackles this year.
Yeah. My core philosophy of the offensive line is get your best five on the field. And with a new offensive line coach, he doesn't have like loyalty to these guys. He doesn't feel tied to their development. He's coming into the situation, and as long as he's given latitude to make those choices, this could go wild, man. Especially if someone like Jed's not ready to go right away, so Dewan
Yeah,
gets those reps and looks good. It's but people always want to follow the money, and in this situation, this could all play out to where Jack Conklin's your swing tackle, and he's the most expensive swing tackle in the history of football. There's a ton of outcomes that could happen here. Um, what's best for the team and what's best for DeWan might not intersect here because DeWan might be above average at left tackle. I think he can be an elite right tackle, but it might be what you need. It's like I said, man, I wish I knew. This is going to be fascinating to see how they handle these guys coming back from their injuries and how the snaps get allocated.
yeah. To Red Leader's point, I would never cut Wills at this
No,
point. You definitely need the depth there, no matter
and
what.
you're in for the money, anyway. So it makes no
Yeah,
sense to cut him. But could he end up being a swing tackle? That's among the outcomes,
certainly.
man.
Yeah, that seems like at this point I would say that's the least likely of the three to be the swing tackle, just because he has experience playing left tackle, and it does feel like he's in the range of timeline outcomes to be back around when these guys are. But to your point, you know, Puffy is gonna, Puffy's gonna be making the decisions here. He's gonna be pulling the strings, blowing the whistles. He's gonna be pulling the whole thing here. Serge says Jack Conklin, fullback incoming. Please no, don't get that man hurt. And the Conklin is a terrific tackle when he's healthy,
Absolutely. And the thing that keeps
and
getting lost in all this for me is the fact he's only 29. He's just now
yeah,
turning 30.
You
Feels like he's
said
been in
that
the
the
league
other.
forever, but like he's not old, man. The injuries make him feel like he's old. He's had several seasons, three seasons in the NFL. He's had cut short and season-ending IRs, and it's
Yeah.
2 out of the last 3 we've seen it. So it's like, it feels like it's almost too much to go up against. But look, man, if he's all the way back, dude, he's a very high level right tackle. But I also, my worst fear is cutting DeJuan Jones short, man. I think he could be an elite tackle with all of his best football in front of him, which even if Jack Conklin gets back, I still think his best football is behind him. I don't think he's going to have an all-pro season at this point.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard to say. You just don't know. I mean, because of the injury was so early last year,
Mhm.
right? And with the wand, his biggest thing is that he struggles with right now is the run blocking,
Mhm.
right? So, does that get better if you move him to the left side? I think it's less of a burden. Browns love to run to
primary
that right side.
Yeah. But
Right?
I don't know, man. Well, it all depends on Nick's health, but Nick also erases a lot of mistakes. So a lot of moving pieces here with these injuries, man.
I don't think you can count on, I'm not counting him out, but I'm not counting on Nick to be the guy that erases those mistakes this year. It has to be better than that up front. The run game last year was just so inefficient. After that, and not just because Chubb was gone, right? Like it was issues all over. You had injuries all over, but
injuries all over. No one has depth at tackles 5 and 6.
That's a good point. They had DeWand out there, and there was moments, but it just has to be better this year with running the football. You've got Nick Charlton as your run game coordinator, right? And you've got Puffyhead, and you've got Deuce Staley. So I think the run game is going to look different. No?
Well, here's the thing. They were already a mostly outside zone pin pull team. So unless it's a heavy dose of inside zone, there's only so many. You're going to play the hits. You're going to play what works. The alignments that they run from might look different, but a lot of the schemes are going to be the same. Personnel might be different, so that'll make it look different.
What?
Personnel will be different, so that'll make it look different.
So Pete was kind of saying, and I don't know enough about this too. He thinks that the players, the linemen with the wand, and the history with Charlton and Andy and Dickerson and these guys are more likely to run in the gap schemes than the wide zone.
It's got to be news to White Teller's ears, man.
Yeah. So, and that they're kind of to your Teller, they're more made to do that than the wide zone, and that the running backs, to run in the wide zone, you have to be Chubb-like, patient, great vision.
Amen,
yeah.
sir.
And until he's back, you probably aren't playing. You're not asking Jerome Ford or your other running backs. What's his name?
Foreman,
Dante Foreman to do that. You're asking them to.
They're not
to
that
run.
same level of athlete where they can spread it out wide, put a foot in the ground, catch a backside angle, and go.
I like Foreman a lot too, Sturge.
Yep,
I think it's a good signing. Man. So, but so I think that RPO running that way, I think is going to look different.
Yeah, the alignment will make it look different, but they've been running gap. there have been seasons. There's been seasons under Callahan where like they would primarily start with one and then go to the other and kind
Yeah.
of whatever's working type thing. And
They're multiple. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Now,
they didn't run a ton of inside though, and that is something you tend to see more out of shotgun looks.
yeah, I think that was largely to the disappointment of a lot of people last year. They thought that was going to be like the go-to running out of like that's what's effective for most teams running out of gun is the inside zone, and the Browns didn't do it that much. Now I don't know what they're going to do there this year, but it's very intriguing, right? And then also what does when Chubb does come back, how do you change what you're doing then, depending on how he looks? Certainly, you have to keep it in the back of your mind, right?
I keep leaning on this. If he's 90% of Nick Chubb, you're going yes. You will change to do what he does.
Yeah,
That's a good thing, man. Like people always forget about that 2019 season when if it wasn't for a gargantuan last week effort by Derrick Henry, he leads the league in rushing.
yeah,
That's primarily out of shotgun. That whole season was.
yeah.
Freddie Kitchens, we were in shotgun. So a lot of those same looks he's
That's a
done.
good point.
It's just not been what he's done recently, so people forget about it. But he has Nick Chubb's almost like scheme agnostic. He's not a battering ram. He's too patient sometimes. So a lot of those short yardage situations aren't really suited for him, which is why you got a Deontay Foreman. But yeah, and man, Nick Chubb.
Yeah. But yeah, and you want to see him back.
I've been thinking about it. You think
Nick
if you say he is ready, but they even temper his workload. But say you get to that Dallas game and he gets 7 carries, but he breaks 1. Just that feeling, man. That's
wild, man.
That stadium it'll register on the Richter if he does.
Do you feel it will? It would. Do you feel like week 1 is a stretch though?
Not for him, but for the team.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do it.
I wouldn't, dude. You don't risk the whole season just for but you might let him get his feet wet if he's, I don't know, man. Like seeing him do those footwork drills, see what he's putting in now. Like I don't doubt that he will be physically ready. I just don't think that they're going to they're going to try to save him from himself and save him for when it matters down the stretch.
It's crazy to think that that's even possible at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been saying, and I don't think this is necessarily not true either, although you have to think that it's trending towards sooner than later now, just from what we've seen. Although I don't think it's not in written in pen or anything, right? But like, I was just kind of trending towards the second half of the season. They start to ease him in, because ultimately, like, I don't think they need him until the stretch run.
Obviously, there's no easy games in the NFL, and I'm not trying to disrespect other teams, but the first half of the schedule is easier than the second half.
And the biggest thing last year, and I've written about this multiple times, with the run efficiency and everything, is they just couldn't close out games. It was ridiculous. You were trying to throw,
turnover-prone quarterback trying to throw to finish games.
To finish out games that you're ahead in, and like in the past, it was just you could take a lead into the fourth quarter, and sometimes the other team would see it one time. You know what I mean? You just
that clock.
Yeah. So that's such a weapon, and you do. You're right. Divisional games, right, are the second time around. So weirdly, in the division, they go home, away.
Yeah.
Which is, I hate that, but whatever. But that away in the division, and the final stretch of games in general, the final 6 or 5, I feel like if you could make him part of the committee, maybe sometime after the bye, ease him back into things. Like you said, if he gets 6-7 carries here or there, he's part of the committee with Ford and Foreman, and who know? I don't know. Do you expect Naheem Hines to be healthy?
That's the weird one, man. I don't know. When they signed him, they made it sound like he was ready to go the day they signed him, and then you go to mini camp and he's not. I don't know about that one.
You think he'll be ready like at the Greenbrier? I think he probably will.
They need him to be, man. He brings a specific skill set to this team that instead of using wide receivers to do all these gadget things, if you could use him, that would be a huge plus for me.
Dorsey was super excited about using him in Buffalo and never got a chance to really. So, he gets that opportunity. He's going to try to do it again. I wonder, was that signing predicated on Dorsey, you think?
Very well could have been.
Somewhat.
Very well could have been. But we've been doing this for the last couple of years. Like, man, they need to get a good third down back. They need to get and then because obviously we didn't have Kareem at this point last offseason. So we were looking for that signing then, and it just never came. But they definitely need someone more versatile in the passing game. And with that speed element, especially with, to handle kickoff duties and just free up roster spots basically by having a guy who can do multiple things instead of just pigeonholing just a return guy.
And the amount that, and I probably more this year, but like even they've been doing it with Watson before. One of the better things he does is when they line up and then they go empty. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to go empty with him as a wide receiver, he's basically another wide receiver.
Yeah. Right? You started him in the backfield, motion to empty, put him in the slot, let him work on linebackers.
And Ford is excellent too. Like Ford is very good as a pass catcher.
He's good as a pass catcher, but not as a route runner. He's more of an outlet back where he's just going to find open space. He's not exactly routing cats up and stuff. So they're different types, but he is excellent after the catch. He's good at he's quarterback friendly, finding like a release valve. I'll say that about Ford. Needs to clean up the drop passes, but with the ball in his hand in the open field, man, he can make you pay.
Drew's right. I forgot about that Bubba worked with Hines and Indy, and Charlie Chuck saying I think Hines is going to be a big story this season, both as a back end.
Hines can run inside zone. I can confirm that.
Yeah. So, interesting stuff. Anything else you wanted to hit tonight, Casey?
I don't have the graphic, but I did see where PFF, there was four teams in the NFL that were ranked in the top 5 on both sides of their trenches, right?
Oh, yes. Yep.
And they had the Browns with the 4th best offensive line and 5th best defensive line, which in my mind, those are flip-flopped. I think they're undervaluing the defensive line and perhaps overvaluing the offensive line. Because I think the offensive line has questions, man. Like, because of the tackle situation, I can't, obviously the interior is solid, but we don't know how they're going to handle the tackle situation. If everyone's healthy, you feel great about it, but that's a huge caveat when you got 3 guys returning from season-ending injuries the year before.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the questions are about health, right? But I think like if you look at the interior, you feel pretty good about the offensive line. It's just the tackle situation. And the guys, you have the guys to do the job, but they're just, how soon can they be healthy, right? Tough question, or interesting question here, Drew. Tight end 2 still question. Listen, Drew, the tight end is baffling to me right now. I think they want to use Jordan Akins as tight end 2. That seems like the thing to me, but like once again, if Njoku were for some reason, knock on something, to miss a game or something, what are you gonna do?
Can you even run 11 personnel? Like, here's my question to you, Brad. Yes or no? Is tight end 2 currently on this team now?
I think tight end 2 is. The question is, are you going to have a third tight end? Like, because I don't care about Njoku and Akins being the 2 guys. The question is, do you have a backup for Njoku? Because I don't think Akins can, be effective in that role.
not as an inline blocker.
Right.
And so much
So
of what
who?
Njoku has become over these last couple of years, just an enforcer, a guy that you
Yeah.
can even put up on DNs, man. Like that is so valuable,
Um.
so valuable.
And do you even like Pete's thought process on the react about this is just kind of throw wide receivers and offensive linemen at the issue. If that
You
were
play some
ever an
tough
injury.
defensive lines, man. That scares the shit out of me. Unless
Um,
ZMP's turns into a really good blocker. I know he's been talking about focusing on the blocking aspect of his game and just keep him on the practice squad and elevate him when need be. But that doesn't sound like a solid plan to me, Brad.
yeah, and that doesn't seem like something that you want to do as an offense. Is like, hey, yeah, let's bring up Mitchell Payton and run some stuff to get him the ball. No, I don't think
Does
so.
not.
So I don't. For me, so MC says he's not on the roster. Listen, you don't think Akins can make this team? I think he's a lock.
Make the team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't he tight end too, though?
By default, is he a tight end too? Or is he masquerading because you don't have a better option?
Well, I think as a pass catcher, he's a fine tight end too. He's just not an inline tight end. So it
Yeah,
doesn't. I
no,
mean,
no, and
you
I
can
agree. If
arrange
you
it
want someone to
however
get,
you. You can arrange it however you want on the depth chart. Basically, so right now he's tight end. There's Njoku, and then Akins is 2, and then you've got Welch, Giovanni Ricci, Zaire Mitchell Payton. Welch is intriguing. Maybe you elevate him, from the practice squad, whatever. I would be looking for cut candidates. But you said you kind of scoured that market, and there's not a lot out there.
no, nothing that is. It's going to be something we don't see coming. Someone unloading a contract.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a lot of these French guys, or unless you can find a trade somewhere, man. A couple teams have multiple tight ends and might be looking to move off a contract.
There's still a free agent out there. It's not terrible.
Logan Thomas signed. Your boy, Big Bob Tanyan, he signed.
He did? Tanyan signed?
Yeah, he signed somewhere. And I was looking him up.
That's who I was thinking about.
Yeah,
So
it ain't good, dude. It ain't good.
No,
and it's hard for me to get excited about Robert Tanyan, but he was definitely the best option.
Yeah, Drew says he is listed as a fullback, but they have him playing both.
He's played tight end in the past too, so he's he's more versatile there, and we know they covet versatility. But I'm just with you, man. Like I can't live in the world where David Njoku doesn't get hurt. He's gotten hurt a lot. High ankle sprains, groins. He toughs through it. He's a tough dude. Caught himself on fire, led the team in targets the next week. I'm not questioning his toughness, but if he gets something that he could not play through, I'm saying the plan can't be David Njoku just doesn't get hurt. Because he doesn't get hurt, we're not. Who cares? He's your 11 personnel, and so on and so forth. But
I mean, it almost forces you to. I just feel like you'll be tipping your hand so much if you just say, "Okay, we're gonna run it. We're gonna run another offensive lineman out there as the."
Which we know we've seen them do that. Go heavy.
Yeah.
Shit, last year, every time there was a point in time where DeJuan Jones was only coming on the field for passing plays.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
your hand against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So maybe that's what they think they can do. I just think a better solution would be to try to find a tight end 3 that can be effective as a blocker and a pass catcher, and then you don't have to deviate so far from what you're doing when Njoku's on the field.
Yeah. But does it feel like now that tight end's becoming the linebacker of the offense to the way the Browns are kind of
depth-wise? Yeah. I mean,
right? Well, same thing.
Njoku is incredibly valuable.
You don't try to fill it with depth.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird situation. It is.
Well, I felt really confident when they moved off Harrison Bryant. Okay, we need an upgrade there at tight end too. and it just never materialized.
I think I would love to have Harrison Bryant back because,
All of a sudden, oh yeah,
yeah, because he can do, he could do both
Hmm.
effectively, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't call him a plus blocker, but he's a willing participant.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I don't know if Akins can even do that.
MC says AB has a plan. I hope you're right, brother. Trayvon Wesco listed as top 62 free agent is, yeah. I mean, and he's in his second season, right, or something. Wesco.
It doesn't feel like it solves problems.
Yeah, that doesn't
feel like that solves anything to me. Feels like I'm
Ain't
still
gonna
worrying about the
happen.
same shit if we get that.
Yeah. So I think you gotta look for guys on rosters now.
What will be a veteran, man? I know Mercedes Lewis is playing and he's not getting cut from his team, but a player like that, a veteran who can give you spot starts if need be.
Slim Pickens out there, Drew.
Buddy, it's gross.
Yeah.
It's gross.
It is.
It ain't gonna be a free agent. If it's on another team, it's gonna be a cut candidate or a trade at the last second.
Yep, I agree. Or they just figure it out with what they got. They've done it before. Sort of.
Man, Gary Barnage is not walking through that door.
I don't think Giovanni Ricci is going to make this team. I'm just going to say that.
There's a couple guys, man, that I just don't see a path. He's one of them.
Yeah. How does he? I don't think. How are you going to keep him on this team?
I would rather keep an extra offensive lineman and use them as an occasional fullback.
Yeah.
The Nick Harris route.
Or use Mike Hall as a fullback.
Yeah. Like, man, I'm not opposed to it. They might be, because you just don't want to give rookies too much to do. But if he's not getting serious snaps because of the way the rotation is, I wouldn't be mad.
It's interesting. Yeah, like Hakeem Adeniji, Lorenzo Thompson, like any of these guys I mean, Javion Cohen was very intriguing as offensive lineman.
To make an impact in camp and be able to move off some older guys, keep young depth. That'd be a huge plus for them if that could happen.
Like Cohen, and if you came out of this feeling comfortable with Cohen and Zinter as your guards of the future, that would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, because then you just keep Whippler, and then you probably let Dunn walk finally.
Yeah, Whippler. Yeah, and then I mean, you could get young on the offensive line real quickly if you play this right. It's just they made it more complicated by not getting a tackle of relevance in this year's draft.
Yeah, and I spent a good portion of my day researching more offensive linemen up in this upcoming draft, and obviously the year has to play out. But I don't know, man. Last year was such a rich draft at the position.
Yep, they're mostly like being projected as guards. The guys that are at the top of the draft.
A lot of them.
Sounds like
a lot of them are.
So. All right, guys. Vegas needs a number 3 wide receiver. We need a tight end. Mayer for Moore.
They're not Mayer and Bowers do two different things. Like, I know it seemed like they're putting a hat on a hat by going and getting another young tight end, but Bowers is going to be more of just a passing weapon who can block. But Mayer's a big dude. Yeah, I mean they're just two different roles, and I don't see them moving off either one of those. Maybe we could trade him for Harrison Bryant because they have him.
There you go. Bring him home.
Solving problems.
Yep.
That you created.
Hey, listen. We're gonna get out of here. It's Friday night, and the feeling's right. Case, congratulations again. It feels so good for you, brother. Coming on over to the Orange and Brown Report. I know everybody in the chat was thrilled for you as well. Just very happy.
And I got to thank them,
Uh,
man. I got tons of positive responses when they
I'm
announced it.
sure.
People hitting me up, and so, yeah,
I'm
man,
sure.
I appreciate everyone.
I don't know who wrote that dig at me about putting up with Brad Ward for months. Did you see that?
I did.
I wonder who wrote that. I have to find out who wrote that one.
Get to the bottom of that.
Pretty funny. But yeah, that's awesome news, and we're all thrilled. So, but keep it locked at the OBR. There's more to come, more news to come, and we're doing big things here, including bringing in Big Case Dog, Sam Penix last week. So appreciate you all. MC wrote that. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was somebody from the OBR that wrote it. It was a pre-planned social media post, but it was like, I forget. Anyways, it was either Barry or Pete. I'll get to the bottom of it. Maybe it was maybe not. Maybe it was somebody else. Seth. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna get out of here. It's the OBR streaming network. Go ahead, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're over on X, take a minute to hop over to youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a minute and it helps us out a ton. We appreciate you all so much for tuning in and participating in the show. You're the greatest chat in all the land. For everybody at the OBR, keeping it locked Monday through Friday, even on holiday weeks. For Casey Kinnamon, follow him at Casey_Kinnamon on Twitter or X. And keep it. We should have some articles out tomorrow at the OBR. I have one coming. I know Casey's working on one, so keep that locked over the weekend here. And for all the news that you need, Cleveland Browns. For Casey Kinnamon, my name is Brad Ward. This has been a brand new edition of All Eyes on Cleveland. We are out.